Every year, nearly 1 million people die in a medical sense. Then they come back. 1 in 10 of them says the same thing. They floated above their bodies. They saw death itself and a glimpse of heaven. 1970s. Psychiatrist Bruce Greyson was eating dinner with a colleague. They were discussing a new patient, a girl in a deep coma. A drop of ketchup landed on his white tie. He was about to wipe it off. Then he felt a chill. He turned around. No one was there. To hide his discomfort, he buttoned his collar, covered the red stain completely. The next day, the girl woke up. She looked at Greyson. Word for word, she repeated the conversation he had at dinner last night.
Tonight. Overdose. Weak pulse, shallow breathing.
Then she said,
"Doctor, there was a red stain on your tie yesterday."
Greyson felt dizzy. No one saw that stain yesterday, and she was in a coma. She shouldn't have heard anything.
How did you know that?
Because I was floating near the ceiling at the time, watching you walk in.
Greyson's medical beliefs were challenged.
This is impossible. A deeply unconscious brain can't generate vision.
He decided to prove her wrong. He thought it was an isolated case until he opened hundreds of patient files. 1977, Maria had a heart attack. After she was revived, she said she floated outside the building, saw a blue tennis shoe on a third-floor ledge. The toe area was worn out. A social worker went to check. The shoe was exactly there. Science dismissed this. Survivor bias, urban legend. A few stories don't count as evidence. Greyson thought so too. 1983, he created the near-death experience scale. 16 quantitative questions to filter out exaggerated hallucinations. The results shocked him. These people all described the same things: leaving the body, looking down from above, deep peace, a tunnel, a light. He guessed it might because the paintings and movies have often depicted such images. But after the 1976 Tangshan earthquake, 40% of survivors reported the same: factory workers and farmers. No one had told them about tunnels or lights. Maybe they made it up years later. He found patients he had interviewed 20 years ago, retested them. If it was a lie, time would have cracked it open. The details were exactly the same, even 20 years later. One by one, he took apart every psychological explanation. In the end, he pinned his hopes on physiology. Maybe the patients weren't fully dead. Maybe their remaining senses pieced together a hallucination. Then a singer came along and blocked that exit too. 1991, singer Pam Reynolds was wheeled into surgery. Doctors performed a hypothermic circulatory arrest procedure. It would kill her once. To monitor brain activity, they put earbuds in both ears, 100 decibels, like a chainsaw next to her head. Any brain activity would trigger a reaction. Then the cold came. Body temperature dropped to 15.6 degrees Celsius. Her heart stopped. Blood was drained. Under the monitors, she was dead. Days later, she opened her eyes and said,
"The saw you used felt like an electric toothbrush with grooves along it."
The doctors were shocked. That was a pneumatic bone saw, only brought out after she was fully sedated. She couldn't have seen it. She continued.
"I heard a female voice say her arteries are too small. Use the other side. When I came back to my body, the operating room was playing Hotel California by the Eagles."
All of this happened while her ears were filled with noise, while her brain was drained of blood. Absolute death. How did she hear anything? Greyson fell completely silent. He turned his gaze across the Atlantic. British ICU Dr. Sam Parnia was tired of after-the-fact memories. Greyson's scale was too soft. He wanted to catch the moment of awareness leaving the body. 2008, he launched the AWARE study. Near-death survivors said they floated on the ceiling. So he put hidden images on the ceilings of hospital resuscitation rooms, only visible from above. If one revived patient could describe the image, the debate would be over. The results were awkward. Thousands of cases. No one saw the images. Parnia didn't give up. He hooked up more precise EEG machines to patients. This time, he caught something even more terrifying. Between 35 and 60 minutes of CPR, patients' brains were severely anoxic, yet their EEGs showed near normal brain activity. Other studies confirmed it. In early death, the brain explodes strong gamma waves in the temporoparietal junction, responsible for self-awareness. Scientists breathed a sigh of relief. Case closed. Stimulating that area can indeed induce out-of-body sensations. Near-death experiences were just the brain's last abnormal firing. This seemed like a scientific victory. Then Greyson, nearly 80 years old, smashed it. He pointed out, gamma waves last only a very short time. They cannot form long-term memories. They cannot explain those hour-long precise perceptions. And they cannot explain absolute blind spots. 1973, a blind woman named Vicky was in a car accident. She was born as her optic nerves were damaged. She never knew what light was. After she was revived, she said she floated above her body. She recognized her own long hair and her gold wedding ring. Greyson asked, how could someone with no visual experience see a golden image? Also, there was something called terminal lucidity. 1922, a woman with severe mental disability her whole life. She had never spoken a complete sentence. Right before death, she suddenly sang hymns for over half an hour. Then she died. If the brain is the only machine that produces consciousness, how did she sing? After half a century of tracing, Greyson was left with strange data. People who came back from near death had permanent personality changes. They no longer feared death, became extremely selfless. Their divorce rates were high. Their spouses felt like they had become strangers. If it was just a hallucination from lack of oxygen, how could it reshape someone's remaining life? 100 years ago, Kant drew a line. Humans can only see the appearance of things. They can never touch the thing itself. Death is the door at the end of that line. All near-death reports exist precisely because they stop just before death. We think we are staring at death, but we are only seeing the shadow of life stretched out as it closer the door. A shadow cannot reveal what's behind the door. It only proves that the door exists. And right now, you are still breathing. That is our warmest proof, standing on this side of the door.